We're not talking about sex. It's moving beyond disease and dysfunction and being able to access pleasure.
I normally talk about inflammation, hormonal health, and people go, well, what's sex got to do with that?
Your sexuality is a living, breathing part of who you are. It literally is your sense of self. It's part of your identity.
Is it normal that I'm not having sex right now?
If there is a mismatched desire, we feel really guilty if we're not matching that. Shame lives in the shadows. So when you're able to start talking about it publicly, you can release yourself of a lot of that shame. We minimize our experiences so often.
Yeah.
So whether that's our assaults, whether that's trauma, whether that's pain, we just think we have to grin and bear it.
How do you know if you're disconnected to your sexual self?
Pleasure is our birthright. Women take roughly 20 minutes to reach peak arousal. Stock your toy drawer up. Masturbation. Lube is your friend. You can come back from the depths of low desire. Schedule intimacy.
How many times should you have sex?
There is some research that shows.
Really? Hello and welcome to Finally Found, the podcast that's giving you exactly what you need to know about women's health and everything that comes with it. I'm Sophie Richards, and in today's episode, we're talking about a topic that should be empowering, but for so many people, it's wrapped up in silence, shame, confusion, and even pain, and that's sex. Whether you're struggling with low libido, navigating an orgasm, or even pain or confusion, or just feeling disconnected with your body, it's a subject we need to talk more about so that women have the tools and advice they need to have great sex, not just average. Today's guest is here to help us unlearn everything that we've been taught, or quite frankly, not taught about sex. Billie Quinlan is a sex therapist and co-founder of Ferly, a mental well-being app for your sexual self. She's on a mission to rewrite the narrative around women's pleasure and help them reconnect to their body again on their own terms. This episode is about pleasure, pain, consent, and confidence, and how sex is so much more than what happens between the sheets. Billie, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
I'm so excited to have you on. We did, if you didn't see it at home, a live together, didn't we, on the Found socials? And I have never in my life had so many DMs from people being like, I wish I could have asked this question. I wish I could have commented this, but it's just too personal for them to publicly post about it. So I was like, we have to have a full episode where we talk about everything to do with sex, and I just can't wait. You're the perfect person to do it.
Get into all the nitty gritty, all the questions that came up. Perfect.
Okay, so let's get into who you are, because obviously I know who you are, but for everyone listening or watching at home, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Billie Quinlan, and I'm the co-founder of a sexual wellness app called Ferly. It's weird to define yourself, isn't it, by your job title, but that's what we're here for. So I'm the co-founder of Ferly, and Ferly is an app primarily for women who want to reconnect with their sexuality, rediscover their pleasure, and feel more confident in bed.
Something you said that was really interesting is about sexual difficulties and how that's anywhere from anxiety with sex, pain, low libido, like dry vaginas. That's like my main. I am the go-to person when someone's got a dry vagina. They'll text me like, Sophie, I've got a dry vagina. What do I do? Regardless of if they've got endometriosis, PCOS, or any of those things.
You're the dry vagina lady.
I'm the dry vagina lady, yeah. Thankfully, I don't have a dry vagina right now, but it's definitely something I struggled with before. And I'm actually really open about my sex life, or lack thereof, at the moment with you, because I just think it's one of those conversations where we either A, don't have, or B, wait till we're drunk in the toilets telling our friends, being like, is it normal that I'm not having sex right now?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be super open with you. But that is because you are so open about your sex life as well. I feel like I can have that conversation with you. And you are obviously very ingrained in the sexual space. It's something, I hate the word taboo, but it actually is a taboo subject.
It is, yeah.
How did you end up getting into that? Because I know that you have a personal experience with it, a personal journey, and I'd love to get into it if you're comfortable.
Yeah. And firstly, I think it's so wonderful for your community that you are willing to be vulnerable and open, not just in this podcast, but generally on your platform, because these are taboo topics and they are really difficult to talk about. And it is very scary to put yourself out there like that when the world tells us not to do it. But it's so unbelievably helpful. And we're going to come on to, I'm sure, the topic of shame, but shame lives in the shadows. And so when you're able to start talking about it publicly, actually, you can release yourself of a lot of that shame. And so you and I, it's on our public platforms.
Yeah.
But even for your community at home, it's telling your best friends, it's telling your partners, it's telling your family. Being able to just speak a little bit more openly about what you're navigating creates a huge intimate connection with whoever you're sharing. So I love that you're doing that for your community.
Thank you.
How did I get into it? So in 2015, I was working in investment banking, completely different world. Corporate queen, yeah. Living my city life. And I had this mentor at work, and he was in the sales team, and he offered to really help me progress my career, which I thought I was very lucky and was very excited to get that mentorship. And we had a few great sessions, and then we had a not so great session. So I was sexually assaulted at work on a Thursday night. I can still remember that. And, you know, sexual assault exists on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I am on the lower end of that spectrum. And for a long time, it was really hard for me to even say that I was sexually assaulted, because I felt, one, a huge amount of shame and personal responsibility around it. And two, I felt like my experience wasn't big enough to quantify a sexual assault, and therefore it was insincere of me to call it that. But when you look at the definition, it is. And I think that's one of the challenges around this, is that we minimize our experiences so often.
Yeah.
So whether that's in our assaults, whether that's trauma, whether that's pain, we just think we have to grin and bear it, and that we can't speak up and claim what is actually happening. So that was in the beginning of 2016. And then I had a very destructive year after that. I had depression, went into a deep, deep hole, was avoiding work at all costs, had a very elaborate story about a car crash and a bike just to avoid coming into work. It was, how long can I prolong coming into work? So my excuses had to get more elaborate.
So it just started spiraling.
It started spiraling, and I was in bed, couldn't get out of bed.
What happened with him? Did anything get brought up?
So I left it. I was, as I said, that shame really consumed me. And that is really what sent me into a bit of a spiral. And I didn't tell anyone. My poor dad, I would have lunches with him and I'd just come crying. And he's like, what is going on with you? And I was like, nothing, I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
About a year later, 9-10 months later, I heard that he was recruiting for an all-female team.
Oh, God.
And suddenly it moved from being my own experience to, this man is...
She's a predator.
He's a predator.
Basically.
Yeah. And I can't live with myself if I don't say something and prevent this from happening again. I felt like a personal responsibility for it. Took it to HR, and they just said, look, he's a really big earner. We're not going to get rid of him. We can move you to New York if you want. I was like, I'm telling you, I've been sexually assaulted, that I'm in a depth of depression, and your response and answer to this is to send me to New York, away from my family, away from my friends.
And you're the one that's having to move.
I'm the one, yeah. So that obviously wasn't great. And I think he's still working there. I don't know. But yeah, he didn't leave.
Well, let's hope he's listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I can't actually say his name. Yeah. Legal have told me I'm not allowed. I was going to give him a little shout out, but I won't.
Now that would be a good episode.
That would be great. We have the whole story in the book, and the US and the UK legal teams of our publisher are like, are we sure he can't be identified? Yeah. Which is so messed up in of itself, right? But then I was like, how do I get out of this career? How do I move on? How do I go away? And an email landed in my inbox called Escape the City. I was like, this is the perfect
this is
answer.
My sign.
Literally, this is my sign. And I remember going to the open day, and the woman that was running it, I shared my story, and she's like, look, you might need therapy, but if you don't want to go to therapy and you want to do this, let's go on this route. And it was a 3-month career change program, and it completely changed my life. Off the back of that, I went and got qualified as a coach to really understand my own health. Off the back of that assault, my IBS really kicked off. So I struggle with IBS and have done now for the last sort of 9 years. And I really wanted to understand, similar to how you've done it, my own journey felt like the medical system just wasn't equipped to handle my experience. Retrained as a coach, started having lots of conversations with women. And because I'd been through that experience, I think I opened up a space for them to talk about sex, realized this is such a huge unmet need, and then joined a program to build a business that was designed for the mental and emotional well-being of women and girls. And not a single person was talking about sex and sexuality or addressing our sexual health. And I was like, how is this possible? How are we talking about everything from schizophrenia to financial well-being to, postpartum, and we're not talking about sex? This is such a massive part of our lives, so fundamental to who we are. So I thought, if no one else is going to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it.
What I think is really interesting about your journey, one, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Thank you. I think what is awful is that I can't even count on both hands, because of how common it is, where it's happened to friends of mine as well. And I think it's that thing where it happens so frequently that we go, well, it's happening to so many other people. I can't make a big deal out of it. but you saw your career spiral, your emotional health, your physical health as a result of that, had to change career, which now by the sounds of it was like the best part of coming out of this.
Yeah.
But it should never have happened before. And I really hope that that person, well, they will know about you because you've written a book with Penguin and is going to read that story and hopefully change what he's doing. But I also know what's going to happen is that women will be reading that book going, oh my God, this has happened to me. I didn't realize it actually was a big deal.
Yeah.
Something as well that I find really interesting, and the reason I wanted to talk about sex on this podcast is because I normally talk about inflammation, hormonal health, and people go, well, what's sex got to do with that? In the same way as what sex got to do with the conversations at work. Like you were talking about, they're talking about mental health, physical health, but sex is both.
Yeah.
And after your traumatic experience, you then developed IBS, something that you're still living with today and having to manage. And it just goes to show that these traumatic experiences do impact our health. So for the women listening with endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, who are wondering why they can't get to the bottom of their symptoms, sometimes it's not, the root cause isn't a physical thing. Sometimes it's an emotional thing that's driving it. And your experience is living proof of that.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, shame and stress are really big contributors to chronic health as well, right? And stress manifests itself as physical conditions. And so I wasn't stressed by being overworked. I was stressed because the emotional toll that experience had taken on me.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, a trigger for my IBS. So they're so interconnected. And stress, I think we'll come on to this as well, but it's really helpful to understand what is normal and not normal, and to look out for those signs to say, okay, our body is sending us signals that something is off and we need to pay attention to it. And all of that is helpful information, helpful data to understand, are we functioning exactly as we should be? If not, why not? And how we can get underneath that as well. So it's all connected.
I love that about listening to your body as well, because we always talk about that when it comes to symptoms. There's always a root cause to something, and sometimes it's sitting with yourself and being like, what am I happy with and what am I not? And I really want to hammer home the message that having a good sex life isn't just about fun, which is obviously a great part of it, but it's about overall well-being. When you're having a great sex life, everything else seems to fall into place as well.
Yeah, it's because I always say that your sexuality is a living, breathing part of who you are.
Yeah.
It's not just this physical act that we do over here. It literally is your sense of self, how you experience and express yourself in the world, because it's part of your identity. So they're just so not disconnected. And when we're at home in our body, when we find peace and comfort with who we are, our sexuality can flourish and our sexual experiences can flourish. So building up ourselves, empowering ourselves, understanding our pleasure, understanding our worth, that is so fundamental to who we are as individuals. And that really feeds into the sex that we can enjoy with other people or by ourselves. Also, how we can just hold ourselves and move through the world, the confidence that we have in who we are. That all comes down to your sexuality.
You always talk about sexual well-being, which I think is such an interesting term. And everything that you've just said there, sex really does feel like it should be one of the foundations we talk about when it comes to health, but it's actually the thing that's almost always forgotten about. And so what do you mean by sexual well-being? Because you've kind of touched on it there, and some of the things you said were physical, some of them were emotional. So can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah, so the WHO define sexual health as the ability to have more than just disease and dysfunction and access pleasure. That's not the exact definition, but in summary. And that is really what we're talking about here with sexual well-being. It's moving beyond disease and dysfunction and being able to access pleasure and being able to feel confident, have agency, know the power dynamics, and build an erotic and sensual life. So it's so much more than just procreation, disease, and, you know, the performance and the act of sex. It's actually about how we feel about the sex that we're having, how the sex that we're having makes us feel in return, and the agency and power that we have in those experiences. All of that feeds into sexual well-being rather than just sexual health.
Okay, yeah, which I love, because I feel like I'm always surrounded by fertility. That's kind of the thing that I focus on or subconsciously focus on, because for a little bit of context, I've got my eggs frozen. I got them frozen when I was 25 and 26 because I've had 4 surgeries on my ovaries. I've had a lot of trauma when it comes to my little old tummy. And fertility is just something that's always been on my mind. And obviously sex is meant to be all these wonderful things, but a big part of it as well is having children.
Yeah.
And so I've had a few hiccups with sex, which we'll get into. And I've never really understood what the source of it is. But after talking to you on the live, I realized that there's actually probably quite a few layers to why I've struggled with like my sexual relationship. Like even from growing up, sex was never really spoken about. Or if it was always this like dirty little joke that you were never really in on as a kid.
Yeah.
So you were just like, what is this like weird thing that people are talking about? Then you get the chat in school, which is like, if you have sex, you're getting pregnant or you're getting an STI. So then I was just petrified of both. I still do. Obviously, I'm engaged still now, so it's not like I'm going around, sleeping around, worrying about STIs. But obviously before him, I was just permanently worried about it. So sex was always something I was really scared about. And then obviously the complication of endometriosis, having painful sex because of that condition, not having sex because of surgery, not having sex because you're freezing your eggs. And then it goes from being worried about getting pregnant to being like, the only thing I want to do is get pregnant.
Yeah.
And then amongst all of that shit, you've got, oh, apparently I'm supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
Like whilst I do it. And you're like, how does that happen? So those are kind of some of the things that I've struggled with. And there's signs that I don't even know if I'm aware of. And I know that you kind of have a really handy list of like, how do you know if you're disconnected to your sexual self? You say sexual self all the time and I love it. How do you know that you're disconnected? Like, what are the signs?
Yeah. First of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience. And it's starting with the sex education. We were talking about this yesterday, actually, with someone else. Even the language we use during that is so unhelpful to helping us develop a really healthy and positive relationship to sex. Even words like losing your virginity.
Yeah.
The idea of losing, right? It's like lost.
You're not pure
anymore.
You're
not pure anymore.
Hate it.
It's awful. We're like, rather than like your first sexual experience, you know, you're graduating into this beautiful thing.
Yeah. Hold on. On that note, I have to ask you, have you seen Virgin Island?
Yes.
It's scaring me. Like, it's actually scaring me because I'm like, blink twice if you need help. They're just on this island. I have no idea how long they're meant to be there for.
Yeah.
They just seem like they're going through all of these traumatic experiences. I know they've signed up to be there, but I just don't know how I feel about it.
It's quite confronting.
Yeah.
It's definitely confronting as a show.
But there's some good parts of it, I guess, like showing all the stuff. I don't know.
It's really hard to make sex and TV because we want sensationalist TV and we want things that grabs our attention and keeps us hooked.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we have to be careful when it comes to sex because it's so nuanced as a topic. And I just don't think those two things necessarily go together. So I think it's great that we're raising our awareness of it. And there are some really amazing somatic practices that they're introducing. But yeah, I think I need to also figure out where I sit and land on it as a show.
Yeah, because I feel like it does show what people are going through and like the sexual dysfunction that you talk about. And oh my gosh, I don't remember her name, but it's the girl who she's got red hair, she's bisexual, but now kind of finding out that actually maybe she's more of a lesbian. And watching her experience of a guy touching her, it wasn't just uncomfort, she was scared. And I just thought it was so upsetting to see, but also interesting as a viewer to be like, wow, that's how some people feel about sex.
Yeah.
And it just put my kind of worries completely aside. So I was like, gosh, at least I don't feel that bad about sex. But at the same time, coming back to that word, being a virgin, for some people, it's this pure thing. And then it's mocked in other natures. And that's why I don't know how I feel about the show, because I do feel like it's mocking being a virgin.
Yeah. I know, and I think the intention of it is really good, but I think again it comes back to this sensationalist thing. At the end of the day, it's for TV, and so it's requiring a lot of us as viewers to take it with that pinch of salt and to like understand the nuance of it. In contrast, Dying for Sex. Have you seen Dying for Sex?
No, what is it?
Oh, I think that's some of the best TV I've ever seen.
Is it amazing?
It's amazing, and it's a podcast first and foremost. So if you're podcast lovers. It's a story of this amazing woman called Molly who gets cancer and then terminal cancer, then blows up her life. She's like, I want to orgasm. I want to go on a complete journey of pleasurable discovery. So she leaves her husband, she moves in with her best friend, and it's actually this beautiful story of female friendship.
Oh, God.
And she's like, I want to die with you. And her friend's like, okay, I've got you.
Sorry, is this real life?
This is real life. And then they've made a TV show with Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
And she's amazing in it. And it's just like this beautiful viewing of sexuality, the importance of it. And Michelle even says that, you know, pleasure is our birthright. And it is. And it's, yeah, the best. And so that is a portrayal of sex that I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you can
it's
get behind
nuanced,
it.
It's subtle, it's beautiful, it's raw. And I'm like, that really for me is what sex should be, and demonstrates the importance of it.
Something that really struck me when me and Dylan were watching Virgin Island was that girl's visceral reaction when the guy was touching her. And she sort of was open about being bisexual. She liked both men and women, but she broke down into tears when he touched her. And then in I think it was the third episode, they then said, okay, could you try this kind of intimate touch relationship or whatever they were trying to make. And she had a woman and she was just touching her feet, touching her legs, broke down again. And I thought, oh my gosh, like what's happening? And she was crying happy tears because she was like, for once, I don't feel scared. And I was like, oh my God, I've only ever had the experience of being upset and emotional when I've anticipated pain. But I didn't realize that you could have the same when it comes to your sexuality, your identity, your confidence in that. Have you spoken to people who are kind of sexually confused or not sure if they like men or women or both?
Yeah, and I think this really feeds back into that education that we spoke about before, and also what you've grown up with as well. You know, I had a friend years ago who grew up in a very traditional household where queerness was mocked. Not because that family really were against it. It's just of that era, and they just weren't informed and weren't having those kind of conversations. He then came out as gay when he wasn't able to come out until his mid-20s. And he said he was a homophobic homosexual.
Really?
He'd internalized so much shame about being gay that even though he knew he was gay and that he wanted to be with men, he had a lot of unlearning to do around the messages and the sexual scripts that he had learned when it comes to who he should be in a relationship with, who he should fancy. And recently I had another client who married, had a child, they've been together in a heterosexual relationship for 30 years. And now he's gay. He's realised he's gay as well. And that has come through fantasy and exploration and really exploring his identity. And there is a huge amount of shame around that. And it was really distressing for him to come out as queer. It would mean disrupting their whole family life.
It's hard for everyone.
It's so hard for everyone. So this is where shame is such a powerful thing. I mean, we talked about it in terms of my sexual assault, but we're talking about in terms of chronic health, not feeling like you're living up to the expectations of what a sexy woman should be, or a sexy man, whoever's dealing with that chronic health. That feeds into shame. And then again, shame around your sexuality, it really depends on the messaging that you've had, the education that you've had, the culture that you've come from, but it can be debilitating. And so when you finally feel accepted, when you finally feel peace, that can manifest itself as a very physical response. And that's where that crying, that's a real somatic release that you're having there, because you finally feel seen and finally feel safe. It's a very complex. Sexuality is incredibly complex.
It's not one thing, is it? It's everyone has different ways and different things that turn them on.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's that traditional culture. Like, I come from a farming background, and there's an abnormally low number of queer people that are in that community. And when I say in that community, I mean open in that community, because statistically there's got to be more people than have come out. And that's why I just feel so sad for them, because I feel like they must be struggling inside, not being able to open up. And the only people that I know that have opened up and said, I'm a lesbian, bisexual, gay, have been people who have left, completely severed ties with their family, friends, built a completely new life where they feel like they can open up. But a big part of it, I remember speaking to a friend of mine who's come out, and he was saying it's just because he left and all of a sudden was in this new environment where people weren't going, oh God, he's there, or he's the
Gay
other
boy
way.
or
And there was none of that. And all of a sudden he was like, I realised one, it wasn't a bad thing. So all of a sudden he stopped joking about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, shit, I realised I like men.
Yeah.
And it was just him actually exploring as well. So it's A, the education, but B, putting it back on yourself of exploring, communicating with your partner, finding out what you really, really like to come to that conclusion. And again, it's what she said on the interview, the girl from Virgin Islands said, oh, okay, I know it's okay to just be a lesbian, because she was using the term bisexual as a term to satisfy other people still, to be like, okay, I like women, but don't forget I do like men too.
Men, I'm
whereas
still
now,
normal.
Whereas now she was like, actually, I just don't like them. That's fair enough.
Coming back to your question around what to look out for and how to know about your body. So I think education is so fundamental. And I think it's really amazing that you are going through this journey now before you're going to become a mother, because actually as parents we play such a huge role in the sex education of our kids. And if we can't talk about it, if we're nervous about it, if we have a bad relationship to it ourselves, unfortunately we role model that down to our children, and that is what our children start to understand and take in as their relationship to sex as well. So school education can only do so much, and school education isn't even that great. So it's so important as new parents at whatever age to get comfortable with this topic if we want to raise kids that have a healthy relationship to sex as well. It's another thing for parents to add to the list, which I know is a lot, but we know they role model so much, so it's so important. But everything starts with sex education, and right now our sex education in schools isn't great. We're learning from porn more than ever,
which is quite scary, because especially with AI, the stuff that's happening with porn, like I was watching a TikTok, and it was about this woman exposing this app where boys were downloading AI girlfriends and were requesting for them to be covered in blood, being cut up. And like, that's not normal to be exposed to that kind of stuff.
No. And because we've got so much of it, you need to go more and more extreme to get stimulated by it.
Yeah.
So it's really damaging. And like, I'm actually pro porn.
Are you?
Yes.
I did not expect you to say that. Interesting.
Why?
But I think it's that thing of, I always thought that visual stimulation in terms of porn was like feeding into this like fake world, because I am like trying to get into the mindset of like sex isn't a performance. And I'm really lucky, like I don't have that relationship with Dylan, but I know he's my fiance. In my past relationships, it was a complete show. It almost was like stepping into a character. I was not present, so no wonder I was never having orgasms, or real ones anyway. And I always thought porn was feeding that. So I didn't expect you to say, but then I also know there's so many types of porn, I guess.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of like one type where there's a girl who's having sex for 3 minutes and she's had like 9 orgasms. Do you know what I mean? It's that stuff.
Yeah, which is the very unrealistic portrayal of it.
Yeah.
So I'm pro porn because fantasy is a really powerful stimulus for us, and our imagination is such an incredible tool we have to help us with our sexuality and with our pleasure and our discovery. I'm pro porn in moderation, and I'm pro ethical porn. And there's people like Erica Lust, who, have you heard of Erica Lust before?
No, I haven't, no.
Oh, she creates the most amazing feminist porn, which is all about storytelling. It really centers the female experience. So what we have today is we have porn that's very much through the male lens and male centric when it comes to pleasure. And that's why we see mostly penetration, mostly, these quick orgasms, very small amounts of foreplay. So that is problematic. But feminist, beautifully shot, storytelling porn, fantastic. There's also visual porn. You can have erotica, which, on the Ferly app, we have a whole library of audio erotica.
Sorry, what is erotica?
They're stories told either through the written format or through audio. So like little sexual podcasts.
Interesting.
Yes.
I can get behind a spicy book.
Yes.
What do they call it? Like basically like a
erotic
porn
literature?
Book. Yeah, there's a word for it. Smut. Yeah, I need to get some smut books.
Yes, you do.
Because that I can get behind. And also I don't think of that as porn, probably because, again, my version of porn. And something that you said as well, these like quick orgasms.
Yeah.
That is something that I always felt bad when I was having sex, that I wasn't getting there quick enough. And then I'd get in my head so much about the fact that I wasn't getting there quick enough that I could not be further away.
Yeah.
And then I remember once I had one boyfriend who like halfway through was like, Like, it'd been like 9 minutes. Okay, it'd literally been 9 minutes. And then I immediately lost it. You know that
Yeah.
feeling where it's like building and building?
Yeah.
Lost it. And then ever since, I was just panicked every time we had sex. So I was like, I'm just never going to get this. I'm just going to have to fake it. Whereas like Dylan is, oh my God, I really hope my mum's not watching this. Dylan, super patient. He's just like, I'm here all day.
Slow lover.
Yeah.
Go Dylan.
Yeah.
Big fan.
He's a queen.
Yeah.
He really is. He's really changed
king.
my life.
Yeah.
Well, don't give him that.
Don't give him that title.
No,
Okay.
no.
Women take roughly 22 minutes to reach peak arousal.
Yeah.
Right. 20 minutes.
Is that from start to finish? Like clothes on,
Clothes on.
2
Getting in
orgasms,
the
20
mood.
minutes.
Not necessarily in the mood, not to orgasm, but to peak arousal. So when
Okay.
you're like fully turned on, your body's warmed up. So, you know, again, these movies where you see a woman slammed up against the wall,
Yeah.
straight into penetration, and then 2 minutes later she's had an orgasm. You're like, I mean,
It's literally my worst nightmare. I feel under attack. Under attack.
Say more, tell me more.
So I've said this to him before. He, bless his soul, walks past me and just is obviously in the mood.
Yeah.
We'll have a bit of a rough and fumble. And I'm like, this is great. We're going to have to stop right now because I'm not in the mood. And he's just like, oh, fine. And he's just like an excited child.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling this like guilt and shame that I was like, it must be low libido. I must have low libido. And it actually, again, wasn't until the live that we had that I was just like, and the conversation before it, where I was like, we just have different ways of being aroused. So Dylan just needs to see a collarbone.
Yeah.
He's there. Like he's ready to go.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he's just like, I'm there.
Yeah.
Whereas I need to be like touched, kissed, warmed up, like throughout the whole day. Maybe not the whole day, that's a bit excessive. But do you know what I mean? I need to be like really ramped up before getting there. And if someone comes on to me and I'm not there and it's full on straight away, instead of getting excited, I'm like, get the fuck off me. Because now I'm just stressed. I'm feeling anxious. And if you ever think I'm going to get there now, like you've just got nothing coming. It's not going to happen. And
You
so
put my brake on hard.
Yeah, exactly. But I do feel like that is a common thing because I remember I very, very rarely drink, but I was drunk about 6 months ago. And I said to my friend, I was just like, I'm just not having sex. I was like, we're never having sex. I'm never in the mood. I don't know why. When we started our relationship, we were constantly having sex. And now I go to bed and I was talking to my friend about this and she was like, I've got a little hack. I was like, what is it? Tell me. She was like, I get my mouth tape as soon as I get into bed and I put it on and it's like a universal sign it's not happening tonight. But she loves her partner, thinks he's the sexiest man alive. They have the best relationship ever. But we were both talking about this thing of like, we just can't get in the mood as quickly as they do.
Yeah. And this comes to the different desire types that we have. So there's 3 main desire types. There's responsive desire, contextual, and spontaneous. So spontaneous is what we have grown up to understand desire to be. And that's because that's what we see in the movies, that's what we see in porn. All of our education, you know, indirect and direct, has been, it happens really quickly and it just comes out of nowhere like a light switch.
Yeah.
And that is the predominant desire type for men. And women can have it, and it can be at different times. Women often have it more in the early throes of a relationship because you also have a huge amount of pairing hormones going through your body, which is driving that. So your hormones are working for you, working for that spontaneous desire type.
That is so interesting. So it's not like, oh, I'm just willing to go with the flow at the start. Your hormones are literally driving it.
Your hormones are driving it, yeah. And there's another thing that's happening, which is when you're in the beginnings of a relationship, you aren't seeing each other every day.
This is true.
You aren't living together. You aren't sharing domestic load. You aren't seeing their more, you know, less sexy parts of them, you know, the farting in the morning and the burping after dinner. Like they're saving those bits till you're deep in the relationship. The one gentleman in the room is giving us a grin.
Poor Nathan.
He knows. But, you know, so you're on sort of best behavior for each other.
Yeah.
You're not seeing each other every day. You're building that anticipation and excitement, which is what we need as women. And so you've got your hormones working for you and you've got this separation.
And the prep.
And the
You've got time to prep.
Yeah.
Like especially when me and Dylan were going out at the start, I'd be going over there. I know I'm staying over. My legs are shaved.
Yeah.
Vagina's shaved.
Yeah.
I've showered just before getting there.
Yeah.
I've got nice underwear on.
Yeah. Perfume, makeup.
You know that like build up that I need? That's happening like 9 a.m. when I'm prepping.
Yeah.
So you get there and I'm just ready for it.
Yeah, because you've been, you know, our book is called Turn Yourself On.
Yeah.
You've been turning yourself on all day because, and this comes back to that fantasy piece.
Yeah.
You've been thinking about it. You've been getting excited about it. You've been allowing your body and your time through that time to build that arousal. And by the time you get there, you're like, oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I feel really good. I know I'm in like the peak condition of what I want to be in.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them for a while. And so there's that as well. So that's the main desire type that we see and that men have, spontaneous. Then you have responsive and contextual. And responsive is that you're responding to some sort of erotic stimuli, something that features in your turn-ons list.
Okay.
Right? And so that could be erotica, that could be porn, that could be smut, that could be the smell of their perfume, if that's the thing that really excites you. It could be watching something on TV, which is a bit sexy and stimulating. It could be responding to their touch and the way that they touch you, if they're touching you, how you like to be turned on, how you like to be turned on, not how they want to touch you.
Yeah.
So again, that comes down to that communication of, have you expressed how you like to be explored and what you need?
That's interesting because I think a lot of people go, he doesn't know how to touch me or she doesn't know how to touch me.
Yeah.
But if you've not told them, then how are they going to know?
How are they going to know? When we first started Ferly, we were working out of King's Cross and we went to Central St Martin's, which is up there, to do a big survey. And we must have surveyed about 500 students that came out over a few days. And when we collated all that information, we looked at the data from the young women. The number one thing that they said equated to good sex was if he knew what he was doing so that they didn't have to say anything.
Really?
And I feel like that is removing your agency completely from the experience.
Yeah.
And also putting so much pressure on that person to understand your unique body. There are 8 billion or so people on this planet. All of our vulvas look different. All of our penises look different. All of our genitals are different, right? The way that we like to be touched is different. The way that we experience pleasure is different. There are some commonalities, but we are all unique individuals. How is one person meant to go from you to me to the next girl to the next girl and know exactly how their body works, what turns them on, what turns them off, without any communication? We're setting them up for failure.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people are more in tuned and they can read the signs and they can, and, you know, body language and communication is so much more than just verbal. So there are ways of doing it without explicitly saying. You don't have to say, oh, I really like it when you touch me here. You can move the hand and say, that feels really nice.
Yeah.
But we do have to let them know so that they can understand our unique map a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's responsive.
And you get what you want as well when you do that.
And then you get what you want. Yeah. And so that comes back to masturbation. Self-pleasure, self-pleasure, self-pleasure. Guilt-free. Get it. Stock your toy drawer up.
Yeah.
No shame in that.
Just pausing the episode to say a big thank you to the sponsor of this podcast, Boira. If you've followed me for a while, you know I'm all about natural pain relief, and their TENS machines are genuinely amazing. My go-to is specifically the Boira EM50 TENS machine with heat technology. If I'm having an endo flare-up or cramping from my period, I just pop it on, and the combo of the TENS technology plus heat therapy is pure bliss. I wear it at home, on the go, and it's an absolute dream for flights, and I recommend it to everyone I know who wants non-medication support for pain. And if you want to get your own, you'll find the link to the Boira EM50 in the show notes, and make sure to use the code FOUND at checkout. It's your exclusive listener discount. And now let's get back to the episode. For someone listening then, because I know that there's partners that I've been with who there's no way in hell I could have said what I wanted. Because if you would have said even the words a little bit to the left, all of a sudden it's like ego meltdown. And then it's just they have this absolute hissy fit and then blame you. So, I mean, it's probably just the wrong person. Why I'm not still with them. But it wasn't like a long-term relationship, in between situation, which was really boring.
Yeah.
But how do you have that conversation if A, you struggle to communicate that?
Yeah.
And because they might be like a pro masturbator, they just can't communicate it.
Yeah.
And B, what if the person takes it badly?
Yeah. So there's a few ways to handle this, and it's a really, really good question. one, if you struggle to communicate, the chances are that you might struggle to communicate in other areas of your life. You might struggle to ask for other wants and needs. Start there. Start practicing in low stakes environments. So when you're out and about and they're like, where do you want to go for dinner? Rather than saying, I don't know, you choose. Assert yourself. I would like to go and eat this kind of meal. That way they get used to you giving back that feedback, sharing your opinion, and they learn to adjust that dynamic. That's one way if you're nervous generally about communicating your wants and needs, and often those two things, inside the bedroom and outside the bedroom, go hand in hand. If you're not, if you feel very confident outside the bedroom and it's just inside the bedroom, then what we always recommend is never to have these conversations in the moment and in bed. Okay. If you think they're very fragile, if they think that it's going to be if it's not going to be received well. Yeah. If you have a great partner, like sounds like Dylan's great. If you have a great partner and you've had this good communication and you say in the bedroom, move here, do this, do that, and you know it's going to be received well, great. Have that conversation in the bedroom. If you're worried about how it's going to be received, have it outside the bedroom. Go for a nice walk, hold hands so you know it's coming from a place of love and care and they can feel assured in that. The lovely thing about walking is that it's slightly distracting. You haven't got to make eye contact. You can go side by side. And then you can say, you know, last night in bed when we did this thing, what I really love is when you do this thing instead. Or
that's a nice way for it. Instead of like you're doing it wrong. I think it's great when you do this.
I think it's great when you do this. We're a team, remember? You're a team. You want the best out of each other and you want the best experience for both of you. So you're not looking to, you know, tell them off or criticize them because that will create defensiveness. You're looking to build them up and encourage them in the directions that you want to go. Yeah. It's a bit more carrot than stick, you know? Yeah. So outside the bedroom, lead with the positives, frame it with, I really like it when you do this. I'd love more of that. Or something that I do when I self-pleasure or when I masturbate is this. Can we try doing that? And then you can also say, do you mind if I share that with you in the moment? Yeah. You know, get pre-approved consent to do that so that they know it's coming. And maybe they might even ask the questions. Do you like it when I do this? Oh, yeah, I like that, but I like this even more. Yeah. You know, I like, yeah, that feels nice, but this would feel really good. Yeah. So those are some of the ways that you can have those conversations. But ultimately, you did strike gold when you said, if your partner cannot handle any kind of feedback and you feel so nervous that you're walking on eggshells, there's something deeper in that relationship that you need to look at, because it is not your job to protect their ego. And you don't have to, you know, help them work through that either. That's also not your job.
They could just literally be the wrong partner.
They could just be the wrong partner.
Yeah. Just hundreds of people breaking up after this podcast.
Dump them.
Yeah. I do think it's important though, because if I would have known this back in some of like the situationships I had, because I had an amazing boyfriend at uni, and then just situationships in between that were just absolute trash. And it's like, no wonder our sex life was that bad, because we couldn't even communicate when we were on the sofa, let alone in the bedroom. And the reason I'm so big on communication as well is not just from like a basic need of getting what you want and what they want in that intimate moment, but when it comes to deeper layers like having endometriosis or just struggling with painful sex, because there are conditions, or when hormones are out of whack and you have a dry vagina, it makes things difficult. And there've been a few moments where I was really lucky that my university boyfriend was super supportive. So if we were having sex and it's painful, it was just like a no-brainer that we would stop. But it didn't mean that sex had to stop. We could do other things. Great. Whereas there are so many women that message me saying, I can't have sex, haven't had sex in a year because it's so painful. My partner's now getting pissed off at me, this, that, and the other. And so being able to communicate that, I think, is so important. I wanna get on to the fact that sex is just more than penetration as well. Yes. But I know there's a third type of...
Yeah, so quickly wrapping that up, because I really want to build on what you just said, is there's contextual as well. And so contextual is we're responding to the environment that we're in. So stress is a massive libido killer. If we've had a really crazy busy day at work, we've had really horrible meetings, bad clients, something that's put us under a lot of stress, the chances of us coming home and feeling desired or having high desire are lower unless stress is a reliever for you. But if you're someone that is contextual in their desire, then that is really feeding into your experience of whether you have high or low libido. And we're using libido and desire interchangeably here. So contextual is, where am I? What's gone on in my world? And how is that feeding in? So for example, if I've gone back home to visit my parents for the weekend with my boyfriend, and my room, you've been so vulnerable in sharing, I'm going to give you a little tidbit from mine. When I go back to visit my parents, I don't leave my home without my vibrator. It comes everywhere with me.
I love it.
Always. So obviously when I come back to stay with my parents, I'm back in the UK for 6 weeks at the moment.
Yeah.
That little puppy's coming with me.
Yeah.
And I bring it home, but my house honestly is in the middle of nowhere. You can hear a pin drop. So the other day I had to do a little stress test. I had to close all the doors, go into my parents' bedroom to hear whether they'd be able to hear the vibrator that I turned on in the other bedroom.
Imagine just night.
Going. But I did this because I tried to masturbate the other day, and then all I could think about was my dad next door, and I was like, oh my God, I literally, and this thing is a fail safe. Like, I know I can orgasm like that with this toy. And all I was thinking was like, oh my God, I can't.
Yeah, can't get there.
I don't know if my dad can hear. And I was like, he is not going to fuck this up for me the rest of the time I'm here.
Yeah.
So I did a little stress test. You can't hear it. We're good to go.
Brilliant.
But, those things feed into it. I have a very healthy relationship to sex. I'm very able to orgasm, very comfortable in my body. Yet I wasn't able to get there because all I could think about was my dad 2 doors down and whether he'd be able to hear me. And we've already had a moment, me and my dad. Like, he made my bed a few years ago, found my vibrator.
No, I can't. I would literally die.
Unhinged.
I would die.
Took it out of my bed and put it on the stairs. So didn't say anything. So I come home and I'm like...
So why would he do that to you? Why would he do it to himself? Because now you're going to have that conversation.
Now I'm going to have that conversation. And I brought it up and he was like, we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it. And I was like, why don't you just leave it in the bed?
If you didn't want to talk about it, just act like it's not happened.
Like it's not happened. Leave it there. It was totally fine. It wasn't causing anyone any harm.
I would die.
So it was very, very funny. Now the conversations in our household are quite funny. My poor little dad. But I was like, wow. So I couldn't do it to him again this time. I was like, I can't have him lying there listening to me. It's just too much.
Well, you just don't want your vibrator to end up on the top of the stairs again.
I don't want my vibrator being touched by him. Grab your little fingers. Get off it.
I'm literally dying inside right now for you.
So contextual.
Yes.
Can play a big part.
Can we recap, the 3? So we've got
contextual, what's going on around you and how are you feeling, what's been happening in your life.
Yeah.
Responsive.
Yes.
We're responding to the erotic stimuli, something that is arousing us, turning us on. Responsive is our body, so our arousal is turning on before our desire is kicking in.
Okay.
So our body is responding. We're getting those sensations that you might feel when you're getting aroused, quickening of heart rate, sensations in your genitals. And you're like, oh, there's something here. And then your mind is like, oh, you're aroused. Our desire will kick in. Okay. So arousal come first, then desire. And then, so that's responsive. And then spontaneous is the one that we most know about, which is very male centric, which is you see a collarbone, going back to Dylan and you, and he's like, woo, I'm ready to go, baby. And it's not to say that it's only men that have spontaneous and women can never have it. It can all move around, but it's really helpful to understand what your predominant type is and that those may be the things that are contributing to your low desire and what you can do and therefore have agency to kickstart it. So if you're going through a real patch of low desire, you can kickstart it. Find the things that turn you on. Is it the smut? Is it Ferly's audio erotica? Is it Erica Lust's porn? Is it a massage? What is it that allows your desire to kickstart?
What I think is so cool about everything you've just said is that there are so many people, and I've definitely been in this situation, where you go, I wanted to have sex loads at the start. Why don't I now? Is it my relationship? Is there something wrong with me? Am I unwell? Is it my hormones? Yeah. But actually, at the start of a relationship, you've got all of these, I think you call them pairing hormones, which is like getting you ramped up. Yeah. You're having that bloody 9-hour prep time. Yeah. So Dylan thinks I love spontaneous sex because I get to his house and we have sex straight away. But actually, he's spontaneous. I've had 9 hours to prep and get myself there. Yeah. And then as you go through the relationship, you see more and more of those things that aren't sexy. And so you're not turned on all the time. So it's actually, there's nothing wrong with you, basically. No. You just need to find what turns you on. And for a lot of people, they might be 10 years into their relationship going, oh my God, I can get horny again.
You can get horny again. I have brought women back from the depths of low desire, years and years and years and years of no sex or having sex that they're completely detached from, and now really connected to their desire again, knowing they have agency to kickstart it if they want to. Like, you can come back from the depths of low desire, and there's nothing wrong with you. The final thing I'll say about that is, because I think it's such an important point, because when you get into these long-term relations, people are like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? That creates these really negative dialogue around sex, which then makes sex a stressful thing, which then is reprogramming your neural pathways to see sex as something that is stressful, loaded, something that you've got to do out of obligation, rather than something
on the tick list.
Rather than something fun, pleasurable, which what you were talking about before, which it should be. We want that to be the case. And you're reprogramming your whole relationship to sex. So we want to move away from that dialogue completely. And so the final thing I'll say about that is, when you're in those early stages, we talk about in long-term relationships, schedule intimacy. Everyone's like, oh, that's so unsexy. I don't want to have to schedule it. We should just be able to get in the mood and do it whenever. In the early stages of your relationship, you were scheduling intimacy because you weren't living together. So you were saying, let's see each other on a Tuesday. Let's see each other on a Friday. You knew that those were the 2 nights that you were going to be intimate. So you were doing the prep, you were building the anticipation. You were scheduling it.
I was avoiding. I remember once Dylan was like, do you want to come over like in a couple of days or whatever? And I was like, really sorry, I'm actually busy, but I am free Monday, which was like 4 or 5 days away. It's because I was going to be in the worst point of my luteal phase. I was like, I didn't mind period sex, but the few days before my period, there's no way, because it can aggravate a flare up for me. So I'm just like, stay away from that zone. So I was able to just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not free then. But I can do here. So you're, again, scheduling intimacy. But at the time, felt spontaneous.
And what's lovely about that is that you can still do that now in your long-term relationship, right? You can still do that with Dylan now. What's powerful about that is you're giving your partner knowledge of when it will happen. So you're saying not now, but you're not just leaving it there, which creates frustration. You're saying not now, but Monday. Right? And then they're like, okay, well, we can build up and get excited about that. And it's
instead
not
of just rejection over and over again.
Exactly, with no idea of when you're going to come back together and when you're going to create that intimacy. So
I love that. There's something I want to talk about is the hormonal element of it, because we have 4 phases of our cycle. Our sexual desire, our libido, the cervical mucus, so like how wet you get, changes throughout that cycle. And some people go, oh my God, sometimes I'm really dry, sometimes I'm really wet. It can literally just correspond with your cycle. It's why I always think downloading an app like Stardust, or if you've got a Whoop, like I wear my Whoop all the time. They've got these really cool cycle features on there now. And it literally tells you when you're going to be feeling your best self in that department. And there's so many people that think that there's just something wrong with them because they only sometimes want it. And you said something on the live that so many people loved, and it was, how many times should you have sex? So please, can you tell the audience how many times they should be having sex? Because everybody wants to know.
There is no amount of times that you should be having sex. And if we could banish one word from the bedroom and from our intimate lives, it'd be this word should.
I thought it was supposed to be 3 to 4 times a week.
Well, that's what people think they have.
I'm not having sex 3
I'm not having sex 3 to 4 times a week. God, I could not fit that in. I wouldn't even want to.
Fucking tired.
You know what, actually? There is some research that shows that more than once a week, there's diminishing returns.
Really?
Yeah. So even if you are really high desire and, actually after once a week, it's less satisfying, it's less gratifying, and there's diminishing returns to having it more often.
Are you listening, Dylan?
Dylan?
Yeah, you're fine. You'll survive.
Yeah. This is actually something that comes up a lot in clinic, and I want to quickly just touch on it. This idea that our male partners, if there is a mismatched desire, that we're somehow responsible for their desire and taking care of their needs. And we feel really guilty if we're not matching that. Before you came along, they were a lonely boy wanking his way through the week, right? He wasn't like dying because he wasn't having sex with a woman 4 times a week. Boy would be lucky if he was getting it once a month, probably.
Yeah, so true.
They are fine.
So true.
And this is where masturbation in a relationship is so important. I know some people can feel threatened by masturbation. Why is my partner going off masturbating? If they're doing that, it's because they don't desire me, they don't want to have sex with me. No, you have different needs. Self-pleasure serves a different purpose than sex. Sometimes I've got 2-3 minutes between meetings and I'm a bit stressed and I'm like, I'm gonna have a quick wank.
Gonna bash it out.
Gonna bash it out.
That was the running joke in lockdown where people were like,
Yeah.
can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You're not like, hey babe, can you come up so we can have a whole thing now?
Yeah.
And equally, I don't want my body to be used so that he can have a quick thing on me to get through his stress.
Yeah.
I want us to have an experience together.
Yeah.
So masturbation in a relationship is really important for both people. There's no need to be threatened by it, especially if you have open communication around it. And your partner is not going to die.
He's not going to die.
He's not going to die if you're not having sex multiple times a week. So there is no right amount. What we want to focus on, rather than the metric of frequency, which is such a bad metric for a good sex life, we want to focus on quality. Are you really enjoying the sex that you're having? Is it fulfilling? Are you present in your body? Is it pain-free? If there is pain, are you able to adjust and do something different so that you're able to still stay connected and intimate? If that's happening once a month, great. If you're both satisfied by that and you're still having these other intimate moments in between, those long cuddles in the kitchen, a big smooch without the expectation that it's going to go somewhere else, a cheeky little fumble in bed, a long naked cuddle, whatever that might be, there's lots of different ways to stay intimate, but it's the quality rather than the frequency. And this 2 to 3 metric times a week, throw it out.
Yeah, it's crap. Something you said about those little intimate moments I think is so important, because I love a smooch. Absolutely love a smooch. And with other partners, I remember specifically, especially when sex was painful, I used to avoid even kissing because I was like, kissing turns into sex and I can't have sex right now. Or if I do, it's going to be painful, so I don't want it. So I'm not going to kiss them more than a peck. And then all of a sudden your relationship grows further and further and further and further apart. But it was actually, you could have had the smooch, you could have had the cuddle, you could even have had the foreplay. It's just maybe not the penetration sex. But sex is so much more than that, isn't it?
Definitely. And this is why, especially with a chronic health condition, scheduling intimacy can be really powerful. I think it should be for every couple, honestly, because even your friend that you said about putting the mouth tape on, there is something happening there where there's a lack of communication and there's a sense of, even if it's a micro sense of fear of, I have to put this mouth tape on really quickly so they don't think that there's a chance tonight. Bed should not be a stressful environment. It should not be somewhere where you're thinking, oh God, what's the expectation going to be?
I need to get away with not doing it tonight.
I need to get away with it. Instead, it should be an open communication. Can we have sex on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Because I have really, empty days on those days of work, or they're stress-free, or I've got a free evening, or the kids are at the grandparents, or whatever it is. And then the other days of the week, you can go to bed calmly, and you can give each other those intimate moments in bed without it needing to escalate to something else. If you want it to escalate, you can let it, obviously, but it just removes the pressure. So as you said, you can still have those moments of connection in between, which ultimately makes sex easier and better and more fun anyway. Because if you're intimately disconnected and then suddenly you try and have sex, which is the most intimate act, you're asking yourself to go from 0 to hero so quickly, rather than keeping that engine just gently revving up, because you're connecting through a long cuddle, through a big smooch, whatever that is. So setting those expectations of, I'm going to give you a really big kiss and that's all I'm in the mood for today. That's enough.
It's funny because sometimes me and Dylan will do that, and I'll be very clear with him. Like this week, right, we've been back to backs with shoots, podcasts, releasing the book. And I made it very clear to him that I was unavailable on all levels until Friday. I was like, Friday, 5 p.m.
Great.
I am all yours. I'll communicate like a human. I will stop throwing my clothes all over the flat. I'll be present in our conversations, and we might even have sex. And I was like, and up until then, I was like, no, it's just not happening. But then you end up having that expectation of not having sex. You let yourself go. You have those smooches. You have the cuddles. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, look at that.
I'm in the mood.
I'm in the mood. And it's like, I just needed to be allowed to have the time to warm up.
Exactly.
It's so
exactly.
True. Love that. Something else that came up as well, and it's something I've definitely struggled with as well, I know so many people too, is body confidence. And that's not just from the female point of view. It's men can struggle with body confidence as well. Why does it manifest? Because like I can feel great, and then all of a sudden I'm naked and I'm like, lights off. And I know so many other people are like that. Why does it happen? Why do we care? Because Dylan needs to see a collarbone and he's there. I know he finds me sexy.
Yeah.
I've been 2 stone heavier in our relationship. So why all of a sudden when I'm a bit bloated or not feeling myself, I'm like, oh, I feel too big to have sex. Why is that?
It's the messaging that we receive, and it's who we surround ourselves with as well. They play such huge roles in this. So when it comes to being able to explore your sexual identity, the internet is such an amazing platform because you can be from a small farming village in Wales and have no one around you that has come out. And then you can go onto Reddit and find a whole community of people that you identify with, and that can release some of that shame, and you can start to find your safe space. On the flip side, there's social media that we are all now growing up with, living with every single day, and the traditional media, we have been bombarded with what the definition of sexy is. And this is where, again, porn in its traditional format is unhelpful because it also has one version of sexy. It's often a very big busted woman, a massively hung man, very skinny, very ripped, no hair. And these form our ideals of what sexy is, right? So there's that of what messaging are you receiving? And if you are on social media and you are feeling triggered and like constantly bombarded by images that doesn't look like you have the power to unfollow that and follow the incredible body positive, body neutral activists, accounts that make you feel good about yourself and reinforce that everybody is, beautiful in their own way. Even in Ferly, one of the exercises we do when I do with clients, women hold a lot of shame around their vulvas.
That's one of the questions I've got to ask you from the audience. It's one of the biggest ones. It was, I've got an outie, I wish I had an innie.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And it's because we don't get to see very many genitals. And the ones we do, again, reinforce a very stereotypical version of this. And so one of the exercises that I have people do when they work with me is we literally go through a library of vulvas. And we go through and like, look, there's an amazing artist in Australia who's done a mold of like 300 women's vulvas. And not a single one of them looks the same. And they're all beautiful and they're all different. And often this shame can come from either what they're seeing and theirs not looking like it, or some partner has made some comment. And that goes both ways, right? Some female partner might have said to their male partner, oh, your penis is a bit small. Or, oh, I don't really like the way that your balls hang down. They're a bit saggy.
Yeah.
Some male partner might have said to his female partner, oh, I've never seen one like that. Or why is your clitoris that big? And that just stays with us.
Yeah.
And because we're not being exposed to anything different, that's the messaging that we receive. And when it comes to chronic health and things like, I have this with my IBS. Some days I'll be bloated and I just don't feel good. And I really have to work on it those days. And it's not about trying to achieve body positivity. It's trying to not think about body at all.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like our body is a beautiful tool. It's literally designed for pleasure. We have 8,000 nerve endings in our clitoris. It's the only organ in the body designed for pleasure.
Yeah.
And the way that we look is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, if we stop thinking about how we looked during sex, we'd probably be able to connect to it so much more.
Definitely.
I know that was one of my biggest issues.
Yeah.
And again,
mindfulness.
Okay.
Yes.
That's in the app as well, right?
That is in the app, but that is the one tool that if I could give anyone that's feeling disassociating or disconnecting during sex or thinking about their body too much and not being present in the moment, mindfulness is such a powerful skill to learn.
Yeah.
It can really bring you home when your mind starts to wander.
I need to do it. I know it's supposed to be good for stress, sleep, everything, and it's good for sex as well. So now I've got even more of an excuse to do it.
Especially if you've had any kind of sexual trauma, because often with sexual trauma, people start to disassociate during sex. The pain, the experience becomes overwhelming and they go somewhere else. They feel like they have to continue.
Yeah, you just hope you're not going to feel the pain. You're just like, if I'm not here.
If I'm not here, it won't happen, or I won't feel it. Mindfulness can bring you back into your body, reconnect you to the sensations, remind yourself, give you enough of a pause to remind yourself that you are safe, and give you the space to be able to communicate whatever you need to communicate, whether that's verbal or non-verbal. I need you to move here. I need you to move your hands here. I need us to stop. I need us to take a breath. Can we change up this position? Can we mix things around? Mindfulness is really grounding in that way.
I love that. I think now is a really good time to go into the Q&A.
Let's do it.
Because we've had some incredible questions and I know that the things that I want to know as well. So I'm going to get up my Instagram now. So if people listening or watching don't know, every single morning when we do have a podcast, we put up a Q&A. and yours in particular was flooded, which I loved. So,
Great.
okay, this is a good one. What are other forms of intimacy? Feel like I have an old way of thinking about sex. So I'm guessing this person is talking about penetration sex. So what are the other things that we can do?
Yes. So I even hate the word foreplay because it suggests something that comes before the main event, right? But mouth play, finger play, hand play, these are all brilliant acts of intimacy. You can also do, and I didn't mention this earlier and I'm glad we're coming back to it, shared masturbation. So masturbating at the same time together, watching each other, this can be really powerful, especially if you're feeling, especially if you're not feeling quite right in your body and you don't want the invasiveness of someone else on you, touching you, feeling you. Being able to do shared masturbation is also great for understanding what the other person likes. It's very sexy. You can watch your partner masturbate, see how they use their hands, see what they like, the pace, the pressure. You can show them back in return. It can be, in the right way, a very sexy way of being together without having to be on each other if that doesn't feel right in that moment. So that's really nice shared masturbation. And then, letting it finish on little fingering. Fingering doesn't have to come before penetration. We can finger each other and leave it there. Or we can wank our partner off and leave it there. We don't have to go any further. Or we can just do a blowjob and that's enough.
Yeah.
Or they can just go down on you that night and that's enough.
Yeah.
Doesn't always have to be reciprocal either.
Yeah. And like people don't have to finish either.
People don't have to finish.
You can just have a fun time.
You can just have a nice time, feel the pleasure and then end it there. Massage is another really lovely way to
that
be
I can get behind. I've got some knots that could do with getting out.
Yeah. You're going for a deep tissue Swedish
like, get your elbow in there.
Sexy. Yeah. So sensual.
Well, whilst he's there, you might as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Get the elbows in. Oh. Right. Pain is Sophie's thing. Now we know that's her kink. Baths or showers are really nice.
Yeah.
Especially with lovely little soaps and you can really lather each other up. I love a bath and making it a moment. So you're not just running a bath, getting in, lights on, lights down, candles, really nice. We just installed a Google Home in our bathroom. So we get music coming straight into the bathroom. It's lovely. I feel like I'm in a spa.
Stunning.
Gorgeous. If you're feeling a bit fragile in that moment, you have the bath and let your partner sit there with you and get deep into a conversation. Phones out of the room. Conversation is sexy and intimate as an act. We were talking about smut earlier. Read to each other.
Yeah.
Read something sexy to each other. Watch something sexy with each other. Listen to something sexy with each other. All of these things are intimate acts. And then beyond the actual sexual acts and kind of physical acts, share your hopes and dreams with each other. Be vulnerable.
Love that.
Talk about the future that you want to create. For women, those are really bonding experiences and can be massive turn-ons for us. Write each other a little erotic fantasy. Send each other some nudes. Do a personal photo shoot. And said, I love doing that. I love buying really sexy, expensive lingerie and then taking so many photos of myself. And I'm like,
I love this.
Girl, you are sexy.
Like, I look amazing.
I look so amazing. And the days that I feel like crap and I've got my like beige, big old granny pants on that are a bit stained from my last period.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I better just flick through my hidden album. Oh, yeah, there she is.
Send that, just took this morning.
Yeah. Send it or even don't send it. And I'm like, it's an intimate act for me.
Yeah.
It's just to remind me that I'm fucking sexy.
Yeah. Do you know what I love is that there's a list of stuff there that I'm like, people will be able to be like, I'm going to go to my partner and say, I'd like to experiment, have fun together and bring back that playfulness.
Yes.
Because you might write a letter to someone. Like, I know right now, I don't think that would be my thing. It might be though. And if I'm writing it and I'm just like, yeah, this isn't for me, I'm not having a good time here. It's just something you can laugh about.
Totally.
But the
side by side vulnerability and intimacy as well.
And the side by side masturbation thing, I think, is a great one for people who can't verbally communicate what they want.
Yeah.
It might not even be a confidence thing. It might just be that they actually need to show someone. Yeah. Okay, a couple more questions, because I know we've answered a lot of them anyway, is... can you talk a little bit more about dryness? Is this common with endo? So I'll touch on the endo side of it. Not specifically to endo, but any condition that can impact your hormones, dryness can come with it. However, we are drier in the run up to our periods anyway because of how our cervical mucus changes. And then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, why am I so wet? And it's probably because you're ovulating. Like that's just a healthy natural cycle. KY jelly, a lot of people use, but also it's if you're actually in the mood and feeling intimate, sometimes that comes. I know I've gone through periods of time thinking I've got a dry vagina, but it's actually I just wasn't in the mood. And then all of a sudden you're watching a rom-com, there's a sex scene and you're like, whoa, where did it go?
A little bit wet down there.
Yeah.
There's another really great brand called Yes, and they were created by two women that worked on Viagra. And they, back in the 90s, and they're like, why have we got Viagra for men? We've got nothing for women. And so they have got this brilliant formulation, and it's mostly for women in menopause because menopause creates a lot of vaginal dryness. So vaginal dryness is normal and it can happen. As you said, maybe we're not aroused enough or maybe our hormones are being impacted. But it's also something as we get later in life is going to be something that we navigate. So the more you can get comfortable with introducing, lube is your friend. Everyone should have a packet of lube in their bag at all times, along with their sex toy and their lube. But seriously, people have a bit of a fear or shame around needing lube as if they are, again, not normal or not good enough if they need it. Lube is amazing. It literally makes everything feel better. Everyone should be using lube, no matter what age, no matter whether you've got a dry vagina or not a dry vagina. So there is no shame. There's nothing wrong with needing to use it. It's your friend at every age. And later in life, we're going to be needing lots of it. And hopefully we'll be having lots of sex into our 70s and 80s. So Yes is a great brand for that as well.
Love that. Okay, thank you so much. I think we need to do a Q&A live on our socials.
Yes.
Because we've got so many more questions, but we don't have time for any more, which is annoying.
I'm having the best time.
I know, me too. One closing tradition we have is to ask our guests what they wish they would have finally found sooner on their journey. It can be to do with sex, health, whatever you want it to be.
For me, it's community. Actually, for me, the thing that has changed my health journey and my relationship to sex more than anything is surrounding myself with people who are willing to go there, willing to have the conversations, be open. As I said, shame lives in the shadows. And the more we're able to have a conversation about it, the amount of women that I meet that haven't told anyone about their sexual challenges, they can't discuss it with their best friends, they can't discuss it with their family, can't discuss it with their partner. That is so isolating. And in all of your health journey, being on your own, having to deal with it on your own is so isolating. So finding community, which I think is what's so wonderful about your platform, is you've built and fostered that. And people are very lucky to have found their way to you. And I hope that we are able to create a little bit of that with Ferly as well. But finding the people who you can speak your truth with. When we've run group programs in the past with people, the thing that they get most isn't the sex education, isn't the pleasure practices. It's the relationships with other women where they're finally being vulnerable and finally being open and being authentic. So community.
I love that. Billie, thank you so much for coming on the Finally Found podcast.
So much fun.
Honestly, I've loved it. I know that this episode is going to change so many people's lives. Where can people find you?
At the Ferly Method, which is FERLY, at the Ferly Method. And then you can buy the book as well. So turn yourself on, get confident, discover pleasure, find your power. It's an incredible resource. And then if you really want to, you can download the app on the App Store or on the Play Store. And it's £12 a month and 40 quid for the year. So it's an absolute bargain.
Amazing. We'll make sure that everything is in the show notes for anyone who wants it. Thank you so much again, Billie. And hopefully see you for season 2 because we definitely need an episode.
Oh, can't wait. Thanks so much, love.
I hope you loved today's episode just as much as I did. I learned so much about sex and how, again, it's so much more than what happens between the sheets. If you've loved it just as much as I did, I would really appreciate it if you could like, follow, comment or subscribe on any platform that you are watching. It really helps out the podcast and make sure that we can have a season 2 and definitely another episode about sex because there's so much more to talk about. I really hope that if this episode struck a chord with you and your sex life just isn't doing it for you, there's so much more out there and I hope you have fun exploring.